The show today, we have some great friends, Zach and Ashley Spear. They're a couple who runs a business together, and they have been since the very beginning. We dive into marriage, business, and how do you run a business efficiently while staying connected. We're going to go deep on this episode, just digging into their journey, and you're going to get some awesome wisdom, especially if you run a business with your spouse.
Okay, in the very beginning of this episode, Stephen mentioned that Zach and Ashley are some of our good friends, and you will see a funny side of Stephen asking some really random rapid fire questions. So you'll just get to see a different side of us on the show, as well as Zach and Stephen. I feel like whenever you get them together, there's always like inside jokes or funny things happening. So just enjoy this episode. But I felt like I need to put a random disclaimer in case you're like, where are these random questions coming from? We just want to have fun with our friends. So enjoy, get a pen and paper. This is a fun episode.
So we're going to start with, we have no agenda for this podcast or plan. We're just going to wing it. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
But we thought we'd start with some rapid fire questions for you guys. Okay. Some rapid fire questions. Okay. So just, I want you to answer these however, just whatever first comes to your mind. Okay.
You pop off first.
First question. How many owls could you see in the...
Oh, I love it. Ashley loves owls.
Owls, could you what?
Hold on. You can't laugh in the middle of the questions.
Entrepreneur questions.
No, these are entrepreneur questions. Okay. How many owls could you see in one day before worrying something was wrong?
Oh my God.
2.
No. That's significantly more. Like real live owls or like articles of owls, statues.
True. If you're seeing like you thought you saw an owl and you looked and it was gone.
Yeah. Or like.
It could be one owl.
Right. Well, that would be interesting. You love owls. So how many?
No, I don't love owls.
No, you do love owls.
I did have like this weird obsession when I was younger.
Which means you loved owls.
But at our other house in the mountains, we've only seen one owl up there in the middle of the road at night. So if I saw more like 2 or 3 owls in one day, I'd be worried.
Well, remember a few houses ago when we were renting that house in the mountains of Temecula, I had to go out in the middle of the night because an owl was right outside our window. And he woke us up because he was like, "Woo, woo." I'm like, road. So I went out in my boxers with a leaf blower and blew him away. And it was like a eagle took off. Like it was so big. Wow. I thought that might be my last night.
Didn't know we actually had owl stories.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Lightning McQueen? Would you say that he has life insurance or car insurance?
Probably. If we have to pick one, would you like to answer? Because our son is obsessed.
Like to answer this.
Our son is obsessed with Lightning McQueen. That's a good point, though. He's a sentient car. I would imagine because he's sentient, he has life insurance. Yeah.
All right. If all jobs paid the same amount, what would you choose to do?
Could I choose to be like a rock star, or like do you need to work your way in?
Well,
no,
I think you choose anything. In this example, you choose anything.
Okay, I'm gonna probably go. That was just purely questioning. I'm not sure, but what would you choose?
How do you like? I would be a dance instructor.
An instructor? What about a performer?
Or a performer, but like a clean performer.
You don't know what Ashley does in her free time. I would be a professional skateboarder. I mean, the worst pro skateboarder there ever was, obviously. But if they paid me, that's what I would do.
Okay. If you were given a book of everything that anyone ever said about you, would you open it?
Ooh, that's good.
I would.
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
I don't think I would do it till the end of my life. Till I was older, like a grandma, you know?
Yeah, a big book.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really large book.
Do your kids get to be a part of this book?
Yeah.
I guess so.
That's good. I like it.
It's all categorized. Okay, last one. These are all off an Instagram post of like, what are the best, craziest questions? What is something you're passionate about that you don't often get the chance to talk about?
Go ahead, baby.
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thanks for. So this is the
cars.
Oh, car. Well, I talk about cars all the time.
Yeah, but just for fun.
Yeah. So what?
On a podcast? You've never been on a podcast talking about cars, huh?
That's true. I don't talk about cars on podcasts. So yeah, cars on podcasts. That's my answer. Do you have an answer?
Ashley, what about
owls?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Owls. Beautiful.
All right. Well,
We had
thank
to
you guys
cut out.
for
We had to cut out the
entering
good
our,
answer.
for completing our rapid fire portion of the podcast. We've never done that before. We'll never do it again.
That sounds
I
amazing.
think we can cut out the whole rapid
No,
fire.
that was amazing. That was so fun.
Okay. One more. I thought this one was really good.
Yeah.
If your parents were your age, would you be
Hmm.
friends with them?
Right
now.
Great question.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think our parents would
Wow.
probably both be uniquely cool in their own ways.
Yeah. We'd be friends with our parents, my parents and yours. Totally. I mean, they would be like, yeah, just like every couple has like special strengths in their relationship. They each have special strengths, and we'd know what they are, which is cool. That's a great question.
That's cool. It's very telling
Mhm.
about your parents. That's awesome. We've met one of your parents,
Yeah. It's a
Zach's
Zach's
parents.
parents.
Yeah.
They're
My
pretty
parents.
cool.
They were just here for 2 days ago, which is cool. So yeah, they're awesome. Really, really legit. I like the rapid fire thing.
All right. This is going to be a fun one. We have some good friends of ours, fellow entrepreneurs, fellow impact makers in the world, Zach and Ashley Spear. Welcome to the show.
What's up?
Hey guys.
Welcome, Ashley. We're pumped to be here. Really, really grateful to be on your show. Thanks, guys.
Now, what you might not know, listening to this episode, you do know we probably moved down to Southern California. We've been talking about that. But what you don't know, it's mostly these people's fault. So we were just
Mom,
coming down here,
listening.
just not thinking about ever moving. And then they just
Fully moving
twisted
with you.
our arms. And no, I'm
Guys,
just
if
kidding. We did
anybody
have a pivotal dinner, though. We had a pivotal dinner with them. They really sold us on the area. We were already thinking about doing something. And I think that was the tipping point for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So thank you guys.
Restaurant.
It's
Nick's
been
on
Nick's
state.
in Carlsbad.
Nick's on state in Carlsbad. If you guys
Mhm.
bring somebody out, get them the butter dessert, and just
ooh,
Butter
that's
him up.
the final butter them up. That's the final kick. That's awesome. Well, we are so
That's right.
pumped to have you here. It's a blessing to have you guys in this area. This area needs
Mhm.
amazing people, and it's awesome to have you. Sincerely.
Yeah. When I think about you guys and some of your, I mean, you guys have so many unique and strengths. One of the things I really admire about you guys is that you, in your entrepreneurship journey and in business, you guys, from what I understand, have always done it together. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've always been together. I mean, I think in the beginning, before we met, I had a little business that didn't do very good, and then we met, and then we didn't do very good together, and then and then I started to do okay, or like because I was running the business and you were doing corporate job. She was basically paying all of our bills and allowing me to be in the business, and so we were reinvesting everything that I was making into the business, and then about a year and a half into that, you pulled the ripcord on your job, and then we went all in together. And so from that point in 2000.
19.
I was 18, I think. In 18,
2018.
we've been together in the business and working together, and different capacities, of course, as our kids have been born. Ashley's been in varying levels of capacity, but yeah, we've always worked together.
Mhm. And when you guys first started, or at least when Ashley, like you were working a corporate job, just like paying the bills, and Zach, you were starting something. Like, did you have that mentality of like, I need to reinvest back in the business, or did you know that going into starting your own business?
No, we definitely knew for sure. I mean, we try to be cognizant of what we spend always on stuff, right? On whatever, coffees and random things. But the one thing that neither Ashley or I ever really second guessed was investing back into the business. Even from the first time we started the very first business way back when, all the way up through when Ashley was supporting us with the job and I was making some money, but we were putting it all back in. I don't think you ever second guessed it. I certainly never second guessed it. So whatever that looked like, there's obviously all kinds of different business investments, but no, I mean, I heard a thing a long time ago, and the guy basically said, if you have, like, let's say you owned a traditional business, a retail store, and you had your house, right? And you have only enough money to pay for the electricity in the retail store, or you have enough money to pay for the electricity at your home, which one do you pay? And obviously the right answer is you pay for the retail store's electricity because it can generate cash flow, and then you can pay for the electricity at your house and keep the business. And so that really stuck for a long time.
Did you grow up like, because I feel like we know you guys in the last handful of years, we know a tiny bit about your history, but did you grow up entrepreneurial, both of you, or was that more of a stretch for you, Ashley, or more of a stretch for you, Zach, when you guys came together and started doing stuff together?
I grew up my dad had his own business growing up, but it was very much a small business. And to this day, it's very much a small business. So I would say he was kind of more or less like self-employed, and he had a few workers in his company. I think I definitely was like the star athlete, the straight and narrow, like A student, never steps out of line, like kind of this picture perfect, like high schooler, basically.
Thank God. We all need one of those to keep us stable.
But I would say that, and I definitely had the mentality coming out of high school, like or college, like I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm going to get that job. I'm going to, accelerate. And I did do that in the corporate world for 10 years. But I definitely always had like some sort of itch. I always wanted to like open a coffee shop or start something on the side. Before meeting Zach, even I was always kind of like this wanderer. Like I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. And do those types of things. And I knew that wasn't possible being at a typical 9 to 5. But I would say that it's definitely more in Zach's blood, like through and through for sure. I think he was probably the guy in high school that would have been like copying my notes or like asking me for my Cliff Notes.
100%. Far more effective.
Copying your notes and selling copies of them to
exactly,
bro.
Oh my gosh.
100%.
Yes.
100%. But yeah, I mean, it's just far more
you guys
effective.
did the like digital nomad stuff for a little bit, right? Like you guys were traveling, you were in like other countries. Like I feel like you only see this on Instagram. I feel like I've never actually met a real person that did this. You guys are in like Bali and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, for a little bit of time, we had a little brand that never really did anything. We were just trying to do, I don't even know what we were doing with it, but it's called Entrepreneur Discovered. And so we did categorize and capture these moments for a year and a half on a blog and on an Instagram page and stuff. And it's probably been killed at this point. But yeah, I mean, Ashley, she was like I called her a gypsy. She was in Vietnam and all these she lived in Mexico City for 6 months before we met. So she loved this stuff. And then I was totally fine with never leaving my house ever again in the history of my time on earth. So when we got married and she's like, hey, I have a great idea. We should totally go take a one-way ticket to Bali. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea as long as we never do it. And one day I like come downstairs and she's like, yo, so I have these tickets. I found them. They're like super cheap. And there's tickets and there's a Airbnb. And should I book them? I was like, dude, I was totally no way. Like what? So she ended up
This
booking
is how long after you guys got married?
Yeah, that was
a year.
A year. Early.
Yeah.
It was a year.
No, I lied. 2 years. It was 2 years. Almost 2 years exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So one-way ticket.
Yeah, one-way ticket.
How'd she convince you to go?
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't really know, actually.
I don't know. I think honestly what it was is the business that we were in before that. So we grew up in the network marketing industry, which is, for those that aren't familiar, it's like the pyramid businesses, right? So get your friends. And so I was getting on my friends for so long. And we built the business in like a physical environment. So like you had to be present physically to build that business. And so I had personally reached a tipping point, a break point. You weren't quite there yet, but you were right there. But I'd like reached a psychological break point where I'm like, I am so done with this. Like, screw this. And so because I was at this like break point, it was almost like, okay, yeah, dude, send me to Bali. And so I don't know if you preyed on my weakness. Just kidding. But something happened where you got me to go. And honestly, it was life-changing for me. I don't know how much it was for you, but it was for me for sure.
Yeah. Funny story about Bali is we actually missed our flight.
The
first flight to go to Bali, and we had to book a second one for like 2 days later.
Yeah, and we were like way less rich and famous than Stephen and Chelsey Diaz in their heyday. Like we were way less rich and famous than them. So like it was like a $2,000 or $2,500 flight,
like a lot of money.
And we were like, and it was just gone out the window. It was just like vanished. We're like, dude, we're $2,000 backwards 1 second into this trip. It was pretty funny, but yeah, it was wild. It was life changing. All kinds of memories. yeah, all kinds of stuff from that for sure.
And I would say for
Wow.
me, that trip, like I know it was like Zach had a lot of growth stuff that come out of it, but for me, I literally left my corporate job within a week. We were in Bali, like we'd put all of our stuff in storage. We're in Bali on a one-way ticket, and now I'm like working in our business. And so I definitely went through like a mini like identity like crisis during that time, because I'm like, oh wow, I just went from like this very structured, my day is structured. I know like what I'm doing during this week, what I'm doing at this time of the month, who I'm working with. And now I'm going into like working in our own business where my strengths at that time were and they still are, but at that time they were so different from Zach's. And I was comparing myself to all the things that he was doing in the business and how I wasn't good at any of those things. And then we're in this other culture and country that is like, which I loved, but so drastically different from like our normal day-to-day life. So that first month was like, it just seemed like every single day I'm getting hit with something really hard to deal with, you know, mentally and emotionally, but while also being in this beautiful country and, you know, enjoying that part.
We could spend an entire, I mean, I'll let you take it wherever you want to go, but we could spend an entire multiple hours just like walking through the kind of the tapestry of what happened through our brains and minds and hearts and business and faith during that whole 18 months, because it was probably the most, I mean, there was building blocks in the past and since of our life, but that was probably the most pivotal 18 months I think we've had, was the traveling season.
That's amazing. I think like, I think a lot of couples experience that right early on in marriage and business. It's like figuring out who you are in this and like how you work together. So I'd love to hear you guys speak to that, because I feel like you've got it to a good place where it's like, hey, we got this dial, but it didn't just come easy, you know? And I think a lot of our audience, our listeners, you know, they're stepping into, you know, metaphorical Balis in their life, new territory, maybe doing it with their spouse and trying to probably wrestle with some of those same thoughts. So I don't know, take us back to that. Let's go back to Bali right now. And what were some of the things where you started to see some breakthrough? Maybe some of the pain points, you're trying to figure out roles and how we're doing this thing. And then some of the things that really started to break through for you guys.
No doubt. You want to talk? You want me to talk?
You can start it.
I'll start it. Well, the first one was what Ashley was referencing. It was just getting used to each other, right? It was we had broken away from that old business entirely at this point, and so that was a huge part of both of our identities. While we didn't have a lot of like financial net success from that, there was a lot of community and recognition. Like part of that business model is speaking, and there's adoration there in some ways. There's a lot of edification and things. So a lot of our identity was kind of like pulled away, and most of our friend circle was gone. So that was pretty shocking for us. And so it gave us a bit of a shock, but also a clean slate. And so us kind of saying, okay, well, what do we want to create here? And something that we did learn from the past was beginning with the end in mind. And so, you know, there's this African proverb, it says, and at this point it's become popular, but it says, if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. And I see that personally, a lot of with entrepreneurs is a lot of entrepreneurs set up for fast versus far. And so I think from one of the ends in mind was we want to build something that we want to enjoy the passage of time with. So we enjoy our daily passage of time versus just thinking about, oh, in 10 years, I'll be happy. And so that's a big one. And I forgot where I was going with that, but that's kind of where I think those things started. I think another thing was in a funky way, we reversed course on logistics of life. So everyone's probably familiar with the concept of like random active memory in a computer. So random active memory is like what the computer is doing in the background to keep the thing alive. And so things like doing your laundry, where to eat, how to, you know, clothe yourself and, you know, drive somewhere. These are all things that we take for granted because like they become, you know, normal. They're automatic, like your heart beating. And so when you're in Bali in a new place, then you switch to Thailand and Kuala Lumpur and then Iceland and Mexico, and you start switching all the time. These things that are automatic become non-automatic. And so it kind of like jars your brain. You're like, holy cow, dude, my clothes are like, I have one pair of underwear left and a moth ate them all, you know, like, so where do I get new underwear? And where do I do the laundry? Right.
Mm.
And some of these types of like basics of life. And it jarred my brain into being like, everything is flexible, everything is fluid. And these like social constructs that I accept or that we accept as these are normal, it's like everything's on the questioning block. So it's like, well, why? Why do I do my laundry? You don't go there, but you're like, why do I, waste time doing my laundry? It's like, well, why doesn't somebody else do my laundry? Right. And so that's a very
Mm.
small microcosm. But if everything's on the question field, well, and I have the end in mind, and I know what I want to do with the passage of time day to day, I can kind of create this structured scaffolding where I do enjoy the passage of time. I don't do the things I don't like to do, and I still get the end in mind, and I set up for longevity versus speed. That's kind of a run-on sentence, but
Wow, that was dense. That was good.
yeah, I tried to. I read Socrates right before this, so I could try to do that.
Sounded familiar. Ashley, what about for you? What was some of those growing pains in the beginning, and where did you start to see breakthrough?
I think for me, it was not, I had to get out of comparing myself to Zach, right? Zach's the marketer, he's the face. Like, I had to not want to try and be the marketer, not want to try and be the face. But then I also, like, at the same time felt like I needed to like do things to help me over if there was fear attached to doing any of those things,
Mhm.
then I needed to do things to like overcome the fear. So I remember like going into this trip, we had done a Tony Robbins event, and I really wanted to retain the information that I had learned at that event. And so I committed for 30 days to post on Facebook, on social media, something that I had taken away or learned from that event. And that might sound silly, but for me to just get on camera, unplanned, unscripted, like not know exactly what I'm talking about, and to just talk in front of the camera was like absolutely terrifying and something I was not comfortable with. But it was something that I knew, even if this isn't what I'm going to be doing in our business, I at least want to overcome this fear in the instance that it's needed, or in the instance that that's something I do need to do. And so I think overcoming fear, but then releasing the areas that it's okay if I'm not strong in those areas. Like, I'm stronger in the back end, I'm stronger in finance, I'm stronger in, whatever those things might be, the analytics, and being okay with that. And then letting Zach run in his lane. And then I think there was like a period of time where we also had to, not in a bad way, but Zach had been running that part of our life and that business by himself for a year and a half. And there was also a season where I think he would probably even admit he had to let go of some control also, because he was used to doing everything.
No, I was perfect.
And it was like, now somebody else is coming in with thoughts and ideas and a different way of doing things. And I know that there was a season where that definitely created tension for us. And so learning how to communicate as a couple through that tension and through creating a more collaborative relationship in business, rather than us each kind of being in that business lane while I was really heavily in the corporate lane, But
And then we also had to work on like communicating well in business, but not taking that in like 5 minutes later, be like, okay, we're in a context switch now we're dating, and like being able to context switch. And like, even if there was some disagreements on the business side, because obviously I'm right, and she had to work on me being right all the time, but even if there's some disagreements on the business stuff, and we had to work through it, it's like, okay, hey, we have to lay this down now, and like we have to go on a date basically. And so like learning how to, for both of us, to set that over here, go date as a couple, be mom and dad later on, and then like when it's time to come back to business, like we can pick those conversations back up.
I would love to know, now you guys have been in business together, you both have known your roles, and now you have kids, and you guys do such a good job of putting like your family first and having like really knowing what each other's needs are. What are some for you guys, like non-negotiables throughout the work week, that you prioritize as a family?
Dude,
I mean,
that's what
they're
I
the
love about
Rainmaker
you.
family. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the things that we do that's a little non-traditional is we actually take our family day on a Wednesday during the week. So most people generally take that Saturday, Sunday off. We take Wednesday, Sunday off. So we always honor the Sabbath and, take Sunday off. But in addition to that, we take Wednesdays off. And I think that the unique thing about it is, well, one, Zach hates crowds and traffic and standing and waiting in lines
Just
and
people,
all
just
the
people.
things.
And I'm just kidding.
So that taking a Wednesday off very much fills his heart
I love it.
because
Yeah.
you're not competing with everyone that is out on a Saturday. But obviously we can do it. Our kids are young right now. They're 4 and 1. So it works with their schedules and the way that we have our life set up. I don't know that that will work forever, but the nice thing is it's also not competing. Our family day is not competing with all of the things and logistics and events that come up on a typical Saturday. And so I think it helps keep the family day a little more like pure to an actual family day rather than a family going out for the whole day attending events or doing this. And we do errands and things, but we try not to. We also try not to fill that day with like house things or errands, or we try to do it with experiences or just quality time together.
I would say another thing, and obviously this took time, right? And I get that we're all at different stages, right? And so we have to go to another stage for sure. So starting off, this wouldn't have worked for us, but a major shift for us has been having a nanny with kids. And then secondly, and so that's been a while. But then the second one is having someone that helps around the house, who's one and the same person, obviously a full-time person. But that really helps take a lot of pressure off of both of us, but in different ways, right? So Ashley doesn't feel like she needs to constantly be keeping up with things. And then I don't feel like the guilt of like, oh, well, the dishwasher's not empty and she's looking at me, right? So there's like, it helps with all that stuff. But that's been a huge thing for us initially. Like it's early on, the very first, I think the second or third thing we ever like outsourced was a house cleaner, someone that came in every week or every 2 weeks or whatever that was. And just so it was like, we still had to keep up with the house, but like Ashley didn't have to feel like, I got to clean this place all the time because, okay, in 8 days, someone's going to come in and handle this stuff. So that, to dovetail with you, helps keep our family days more present because we're not thinking about like emptying the dishwasher and cleaning the floors and all these things.
What's up, Rainmaker? If you're like me, having a good night's sleep is an absolute must, especially as a parent and an entrepreneur. And I feel like I found the secret weapon. It's called 8 Sleep. This brand is a way to add heating and cooling to any bed. And I'm telling you, this cooling feature is an absolute life changer for me, especially during those warm summer months. This might be TMI, but I sweat very easily. And I didn't really realize how much this was affecting my quality of sleep. Once I slept on this bed that has a cooling feature, imagine like the cool side of the pillow, but like all over your body all the time. I do not know how I lived without this. So if you're ready to revolutionize your sleep, head over to rainmakerfamily.com/deals. We got a hookup for Rainmaker Family Show listeners. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/deals and check out 8 Sleep. All right, back to the show. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember you guys would send us videos every Wednesday pretty much when we were thinking about moving down. You'd like every Wednesday, be like all sunny and they'd be like walking on the beach. And that's definitely something we talked about doing. We have not done that yet. But I love the idea. Like you are your own boss. You get to create your own calendar. Like you could decide Wednesday to Saturday. And like that just works. Like you just make it work. So I love that. I was at Legoland on one of these Saturdays and I was thinking of you guys. I was like, dang, this has been way better on a Wednesday, so I don't know. Maybe we'll do it.
We got to hit a Legoland on a Wednesday. It's like it's a barren wasteland. It's amazing.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
It's good stuff.
So who knows? Maybe it'll convince us. Wifey Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, exactly. Wifey Wednesdays. Yep. Thank you.
That is
Is that you though? No, I've heard someone.
Ben and Andrea have Wifey Wednesdays.
Oh, okay, I heard someone say Wifey Wednesdays.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome.
I'm curious if you guys have any like yearly, quarterly, like monthly types of things that you guys do for family and business, or one or the other, that you guys are like, we do this to check in, or this is how we set goals during that time frame. Do you guys have any of that set up that you try and stick with?
I'll mention one. So we do, Zach and I, from a business perspective and from a life logistics perspective, but we do our Friday coffee dates. So we do 3 hours on Friday afternoons to chat through anything that needs to be handled in the business that requires a deeper conversation. And then to also chat through anything with the kids or life or logistics that we need to handle as well. And I think that really started after I listened to one of your guys' podcast.
Oh, let's go. Let's
Your
go.
weekly meeting. And so we haven't actually, I know you do a weekly family meeting too. We haven't incorporated it with the boys yet, but it's definitely something that we want to do
That's awesome.
very soon.
Well, let's go.
Dang, that's awesome.
That's what's up.
3 hours too. You guys leveled it up. We said 30 minutes, I think, on the podcast, and you guys went to 3 hours.
Sometimes on the
10x, bro. 10x your life.
This is really like where you have to know what season and ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
And I would say like right now we've stayed on Sundays in the afternoon, but Kaizen is starting to not nap as much on the weekends. I mean, it just kind of depends. It's been a little more hit and miss.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, we've had a lot going on in life and a lot of moving pieces. So I almost feel like the time frame that we have allotted sometimes doesn't feel like it's enough. And I'm sure some people would argue like, you're just not efficient enough. And like, you don't need more time, which might be true. I'm sure there could always be areas of more efficiency, but I've kind of felt like, I feel like we need a little more time. Like when I heard Ashley, I don't know, I think we were chatting about getting together at some point, and Ashley, you had mentioned your like coffee date, and it's from this time to this time. And I was just like, man, that would be nice. So now I'm learning from you because I feel like we're at this stage where we might need a little bit more time because it's felt a little more rushed and we've just been all over the place and gone
Sundays,
on the weekends,
if you're traveling, that's kind of like, we'll do it later, and then you don't do it.
Yeah.
We're pretty consistent, but we did do like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
we didn't do it, and you like feel it because you're like you get used to like planning, and then it's like then that week's all scrambled. And you're like,
or you're trying to communicate at night. So
Fridays could work. I could do that. What coffee shop do you guys go to?
We go to communal or lofty.
Yes.
It's
open later.
We always have a conversation on the way.
Wow, you guys are here.
Oh, crazy. Let's plan.
Hey guys, this is our next hack. Our next hack is that we're gonna we've just had family in town and stuff, so we haven't done it yet. But coffee date into a real date.
Yeah, we haven't done it.
So this is our next.
We're doing it next week. I think it's our first
coffee into real date.
This is a full blown. It's like
because a lot of our coffee date is business. So I think that the reason for it being longer too, especially if there are areas that we need to talk about that are heavier or areas that we don't agree on, then we have the space to not rush that conversation and make it like, if it gets rushed, it becomes very direct and pointed, and that never goes well. So then we have the space to actually hash it out.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point. That's a super good point.
We have our annual planning scheduled this weekend, or no, Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, Thursday.
So we could do coffee date Thursday.
Ooh, we can end it with a coffee date.
That's legit.
I like that.
Where are you guys staying?
I actually don't know.
Maybe that's not public.
Oh yeah, you don't. Yeah,
well, this will come out fast.
They would have like 10,000 people show up.
It's in California somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in California.
I actually don't know. It's in La Jolla because we went to La Jolla once and we thought it was cool, and we're like, we should go back here and check it out more. So I think it's down there somewhere. I don't know where.
I don't know.
Well, I'll shoot you a text and we'll see you there.
So it's actually a coffee shop. I'll send you. I haven't been, but I've heard it's amazing, so I'll send it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
We'll check it out and do some recon and let you know how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's legit. It's legit. That's pumped. I'm pumped for you guys. That's good. But yeah, good point on that. That's been a huge thing. I think that to just like one little addendum to that part, what's worked well for us is having that for anyone that's thinking about this type of thing is yes, adding that date is I think really important because we can get to the end and it's like, wow, that went by fast. And there wasn't a lot of like personal couple connection time. And then the second part is doing it during the work day. Really big. It can be very difficult at times because it's like the week gets stacked. Now you're like, holy cow, this is like 3 hours out of a work day. But it makes it, while that part's difficult, the good part of it is like it doesn't really get messed up. Like I wouldn't cancel on another role in our business. So I'm not going to cancel on, Ashley in this case. We also already have the nanny's already set up. Everything's already in place. So rather than like sticking that thing like after hours, we put it like in the work week. That helps.
That's good.
You do also a really good job at the end of your review.
My review? Oh, the end of year review. Yeah, I heard John
How do you
Maxwell.
do that? Because we're doing annual planning, which we can usually look forward, but how do you review? What's your strategy for that?
Yeah, so I took I'm getting more compressed as the last few years have gone on. It used to be I took 5 days off, was what John Maxwell said to do, and I was a Maxwellite. So I took like 5 full days off,
Wow.
and I would float for the first like 24 hours just to like get my brain clear. So I just like float around, end up at random coffee shops in random towns, and then I'm like
Skateboard,
skateboarding
go to the
somewhere.
beach.
I'm at the beach, like laying on the sand, and by the next morning, I'm like, I feel clear. So for like at least a day, probably 2 days, probably 2 full days, I would review like the 9 areas of life, right? Like business, wealth, family, blah 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 blah, and just review them. So I'd go back through the year, look at the previous year's plans, compare them to where we actually were, how could we improve, and things like that, and then spend the final day or two kind of planning doing the next thing or doing the next year. I think now I've probably shortened it up a little bit, which I'm not very proud of, but we're probably in the 2 to 3 day range, for that.
5 days is a lot. That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a long time. I kind of miss it for sure. I do miss it. So maybe I'll do it 5 days this year.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think I've ever done that. I think the only time we did that was when we had our sons, right? We would take time off. We took a month off with Kai, and then I attempted to take 2 months off with Ollie. I got about a month in and I went crazy. So, you just you got to do stuff, you can't just sit around.
What I do with my hands, man.
Yeah, man. So, but that was a good learning lesson for me. It's like, okay, I actually do better in life when I'm actually doing things.
Yeah.
Also resting, but not just resting.
Right. Yeah. There's like that balance for sure. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Like right now in this exact season, we're in a hyper busy world because like this is Black Friday season, and this is like too much. And then obviously like taking 2-3 months off is like too much the opposite way, right? So it's that cadence that we can rest and work and rest and work. But yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the Rainmaker Family Show. If any of our listeners want to connect with you guys or hear more about what you're doing, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Just on Facebook, Zachary Spear. I go by Zach, but I don't know why it says Zachary. And then you're, of course, Ashley Spear. We're like the worst. Like for having a online facing business, all of our stuff is like underground almost. So like we don't even have good stuff to send people to from that perspective. True. But yeah, Facebook. Yeah.
Right. Stalk them on Facebook.
We'll totally be friends on Facebook. It'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing to have to be on here. So thank you guys. We're super grateful. And you guys are amazing. I mean, the Rainmaker family, what a powerful name, because it's like you're literally not just empowering one side or the other. You're not empowering just like, let's say children, for instance, but really empowering this, like, we're both very passionate on the creation of wealth for families, not from a selfish standpoint, but from the options that it can create in someone's life. And be it giving or be it using it to create freedom for your family to spend more time with your kids and help them raise up and develop and things like this. So we're just pumped for what you guys are doing, because you're kind of the tip of the spear in a way to go into the world and show the world that you can actually do something really, really big and impactful as a family. And I know there's thousands of families that have been positively impacted by you guys. So we're grateful to be here and appreciate being on.
Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And thanks for being good friends in our transition to San Diego and texting us and things like that. Man, it's just been awesome having good friends in the area. So thank you guys. All right, that's it, you guys. Another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Share this with a couple in business so they can get some breakthrough. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmakers is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.